Chapter 11. Tara wondered how the animals were alive and the paper was water. Could it be she was the fairy queen? Had her story become real? Or was she dreaming and none of this was real? The other possibility she considered was she had been isolated on this island so long that she has lost her mind and was hallucinating. Tara's mind was whirling at 100 miles per hour, wondering a million different things at once. Nicole swam closer to the shore. "Good morning, Tara," Nicole squeaked cheerfully. Tara jumped back, totally blown away, wondering a billion more things than she already was. And Nicole's voice was the voice she had heard when she first held her after folding her. "How did you know my name?" Tara managed to ask, dumbfounded. "You created us, so of course we know your name. Besides, as you created each of us, you introduced us to yourself." It was then she really began to question her sanity and reality. Maybe it was a dream after all. How are you alive? You have magic within you that brought us to life. Your magic is stronger now. You can make anything out of origami, and it will instantly become real. You created this place and us, so you are the princess, or as you had imagined yesterday, the fairy queen. Every princess needs a castle. Go on, make a castle out of the origami, because I know you would much prefer a castle over a woven bed. Tara was too shocked to ask any more and headed off to go do as Nicole had suggested. She folded the paper and made a castle. Instantly, without a second in between, it became real. Her stick shelter vanished, and in its place stood a giant grand castle. "There, see? Now go inside and explore," ordered Nicole, and Tara nodded, curious to see the inside. Besides, she was too amazed to even counter anything the dolphin was telling her. Nicole seemed to be in charge, so she carefully obeyed the tiny instructions from the creature. Tara walked up to the large white door with golden swirls all over that glittered in the sun. Her jaw dropped as she took her first step inside. It was huge. Sure, it looked big from the outside, but from the inside it was gigantic. It most certainly was a castle. Tara had never been to a real castle in person, but this was far more than anything she could have ever imagined. She could see stairs off to the side with great purple carpeting. The stairs seemed to be going up in a little clockwise spiral. She decided to explore the first floor right away and then venture to the upstairs. The living room was large, much larger than any Tara has ever seen. There was a ballet slipper pink couch that could sit 3 people and an armchair on each side. Off to the right was a rocking chair with green cushioning. The green cushion was splattered with the design of white daisies, making it like a meadow. Also in that room was a TV sitting on a wooden stand. Tara didn't really care about the TV, though. She preferred to spend her day outside or doing anything else, much like her dad. She rolled her eyes, knowing it would probably be only there to collect dust, and before her eyes it disappeared. Her eyebrow raised, and then she shook her head, deciding it was better not to question anything anymore. She walked down a narrow hallway, only big enough for 2 skinny people standing side by side to fit through, or one not so twiggish to slip through. The walls in the hallway were painted a pale sea blue. It emerged into another large open room. This room had yellow tiling as the flooring. In the far left corner was a small platform that rose off the ground about 2 feet. On the platform were 2 wooden posts holding 2 acoustic guitars. Behind the guitars was a set of drums, and aside of them was a beautiful golden harp. There was also a clear bin that held other musical instruments, such as a flute and spoons. Tara figured this room was meant for balls or parties. Seeing the instruments, though, made her light up with excitement that she could craft music. Surely she would be able to find a pen and paper to write all the songs down she had come up with ideas for in being here. Turning her attention away, she proceeded to admire the room. On the other side of the room was another small hallway. Before walking into the other hallway, Tara walked over to the platform. She had always wondered what a harp sounded like. From stories, it was always described as something beautiful with a melody, like one of an angel. She climbed the 2 little stairs and stood on the platform. First, she turned around to face the rest of the room. It seemed really big and empty. She imagined lots of people dancing around and a band playing music. It was so lively in her mind, she wished there were people dancing here right now. Then Tara went to the harp and strung it gently. The gentle strings vibrated back and forth, creating the most beautiful melody she had ever heard. She stroked it again and again. It was so peaceful and relaxing. As though she had taken years of lessons and hours of practice, playing the harp was far easier than she had thought. Oddly, she was really good at it, and was writing another melody. She knew then she definitely would write most of her songs by the harp and not piano or guitar. Tahra had taken piano for several years and was getting better. She had only taken a few years on the guitar and was not the greatest. For several minutes she kept playing the harp and listened to the angelic melody it created. Tahra wanted to learn so badly how to write music for the harp and hoped she could soon as she found her way home. For now, though, she could have fun with the beautiful melody, which Tahra had decided to call her in her imagination, Dancing Beneath the Stars. Tahra glanced to the ceiling and could see the painted black with small sparkly white patches representing the night sky. However, Tahra had forgotten she was not in the normal world, but a world made of weird and magical things. After a moment, she stopped playing and glanced to her left side. And there was a music stand, which had not been there prior to that moment. On the music stand was a music book, open to the first page. Curious, Tahra walked over to see what song the book was open to. It surprised her when she read Dancing Beneath the Stars, written by Tahra Strong. There on the page was the melody she had been playing, all carefully noted in the book. She flipped through the rest of the book, but it was all empty sheet music. Tahra thought to herself, how cool is that? The music writes itself as you play here. Then again, the sea of paper turned to water and made origami paper creatures come to life. This is normal. Then she walked off the platform and headed to the other hallway she had noticed before. This one was painted ruby red. Unlike the other hallway, this one opened up to a small room. Here the rug was a dark ocean blue. The walls were painted a cream color. There was a rocking chair with a footstool in that room also. Along the wall nearest to Tahra was a narrow 1-foot wide wooden door. Of course she opened the door, which was a small bathroom. This bathroom did not contain a shower, so Tahra knew there had to be another one, likely upstairs. Closing the door, she looked at the room again. There was another small wooden door along the wall. Once again she opened it to see it was a closet. Attached to the hallway was another door, so that way any of the loud noise of the ball or the party going on could be shut out. On the third wall was yet another door. Unlike the other two, this one actually went somewhere. There was a set of stairs, which led down to the kitchen. The kitchen walls were red tiles and the floor was white tiles. Again off to the side was a door. Tahra opened it to find another closet, but there were yet 2 more doors to be opened. The first one she opened had stairs going up, so she decided to see what the other one was first before going up. The other door led to a small room, which had a washer and a dryer. Towards the back was a door. That one led to another bathroom. This bathroom was a little smaller than the one upstairs. Then Tahra went back to the stairs that she had discovered a moment ago. They led to a door in the side of the staircase she saw when she first entered the castle. The room she entered had white carpeting and a huge glass window. This room was practically empty except for a couch and 2 small side tables. Looking out the window was a perfect view of the ocean where the sun sets each night. The couch and the view partly reminded Tahra of the sunset bench back home. She loved it back home watching the sunset with Kate most every night. It was always a moment she looked forward to. She could do that here, but she was alone. Kate was still far away back home. A sigh floated out of her, and she put the thought out of her reach and walked on. Now it was time for Tahra to go explore the upstairs of her castle. She walked up the purple stairs, not at all prepared for the amazement of the upper level. The stairs opened up to a hallway, a little wider than the one downstairs, which was painted a pale pink with yellow flowers on it. From there, Tahra entered a bedroom that was large and dome-shaped. In the center hung a crystal chandelier over the cherry blossom-colored rug. The bed had pale purple sheets and a fluffy yellow pillow. Aside of the bed was a dark wooden night table. Hanging above the night table was a calendar marked to the date. Unlike most of the rooms, it only had 2 doors. The one opened on a larger closet than a normal size, one nearly like a full walk-in. Tahra was tired of being in the same clothing she had been in since April 24th, although they kinda got washed every time she jumped in the stream. She pulled out a short-sleeved top and shorts and then quickly changed. It felt so good to be out of those clothes. She admired herself in the tall mirror with the golden trim. Her outfit looked good, but her hair was a terrible mess. For the past week she had to finger comb her long hair each day, which wasn't easy, and she certainly had lots of tangles. She found it easiest to comb while it was wet, especially in the water. Now seeing her reflection, she could see her hair was all over the place. Knowing this was her castle, she figured a brush would be found in the drawer of the night table. Sure enough, there lied a sparkly purple brush. Tara smiled and grabbed it out of the drawer. It felt so great to hold the rubber grip, since it had been a week. She stood in the front of her mirror and gently brushed her mangled hair. Finally, her wild lion mane was tamed and looked normal once again. Then she placed her brush back in her drawer and ran her hands through her silky hair. It felt amazing to not have to stop or feel any tangles. Then she decided to see where the door led to, so she strolled over to it. The other door in that room led to a huge library. It was larger than the one they had in Glowing Springs by a lot. There was a dark brown leather armchair in the center of the room, with a small side stand to side of it. Lying on the table was a book. Curious, Tara looked at the cover. The title read Rosehood. Below it said, created by Tara Strong. Amazed, she put the thought out of her head and stopped wondering how it got there. After all, this island was extremely weird, and none of it made sense. Looking around the large room, she assumed there were thousands and thousands of books. If she was stuck here the rest of her life, she knew the animals and reading all these books would definitely keep her from being bored. In fact, it would be rather fun, she imagined. She could even pretend she was at school and teach the animals things from the books, which she had already learned in school. And then Tara let her eyes fall upon one of the walls in the corner between two bookshelves was yet another door. This one opened to a bathroom. Unlike the others, it had more space and had a shower. The curtains were glossy with a picture of a sunset on them. Tara then realized that Nicole was right. She had to have created them and this castle because it was like her dream castle she had always imagined, except it was real. There was no way any of this could possibly be real because animals don't talk, the sea of paper didn't exist, and she most certainly didn't have a castle created by origami. She must be dreaming, so she concluded. Meanwhile, in Glowing Springs at the Strong House, Kate was still fast asleep. Kate, it's time to get up for school, informed Nick. Kate opened her eyes and smiled, knowing today is May 1st. She put on a pretty white dress with flowers sprinkled all over to celebrate the flower month and what she considered the changing into spring. A little later, Kate walked into her classroom. Good morning, Miss Sarah. How was your weekend with your sister? Sought Kate cheerfully. Great, responded Miss Sarah, not as cheerful as the student had expected. Is something wrong? Inquired Kate, alarmed, having picked up on her dreariness. No, I'm just tired. We were quite busy, reassured Miss Sarah. Oh, Mrs. Melody told me you can go up to her classroom at 8:30. Okay, she responded, heading to her seat with a grin. Back at the sea of paper, Tara emerged from the castle and headed over towards Nicole and Snowflake. Well, how is it? Questioned Nicole. Incredible, Tara responded, breathless. I told you it would be. By the way, if you don't know, I am the one in charge, but you should know as you gave me that role. So if you have any questions, ask me. Nicole, I do have a question. How do I get home? My dear Tara, that is one of the only questions I do not know the answer to. Oh, where does the ocean lead to? Nowhere. You could travel in one direction for years and never reach land. This is the only land here. Where am I, then? Pondered Tara, completely confused. The sea of paper. At that moment in New York City, Beth woke up, but still exhausted from staying up late last night with Jennifer and Mary Margaret. She hoped that Jennifer was feeling better and wasn't as upset as she had been yesterday. She let her mind wander as she packed for her trip back home. Her mind was not fully awake yet, and it was hard to focus on what she needed to pack. Knowing the wisest thing to do, she made herself a cup of tea to help her become more alert. As she poured the warm liquid down, she could feel it giving her more life and energy. Happily, she grinned and pulled out her checklist so nothing would get left behind. Back at Glowing Springs Elementary, Kate was still in the classroom with Miss Sarah. Kate, you should head up to Mrs. Melody's, declared Miss Sarah, seeing it was about 8:30. The little girl nodded and hurried off down the hall and then walked up the million stairs full of excitement. Her enthusiasm was so high the million stairs only felt like 20 today, even though there were plenty more than that. Hello, Kate. So glad you could join us on this fine day. I will have your group go first, for it is the opening ceremony, Mrs. Melody informed. Kate, Liliana, and Charmaine performed the maypole dance perfectly. Then they presented their poster about the maypole. Kate, I am going to call Miss Sarah to see when you need to be back, explained the teacher. Okay, responded the student. A moment passed before Mrs. Melody returned to the group. Miss Sarah said you could stay for the whole thing, she replied, happy to hear the news. That's great. This is going to be an amazing day. I know. Wait, I thought Tahra didn't stay in your classroom all day and went to different classes. You're just her English teacher in homeroom. That is true, but May Day is an exception. It is probably my favorite holiday, so I go the extra mile in the celebrations. There isn't nearly enough time to fit the celebrations into one class period. As a result, everyone stays with their homeroom today. The gym is used as a place where students can go to burn off energy throughout the day, or if a teacher needs to set up for the next part of the festivities without the students in the room. My class will probably be there later. Anyway, let's enjoy everything this May Day has to offer. Meanwhile, back at the Sea of Paper, Tahra was still talking to Nicole and Snowflake about anything imaginable. As they were speaking, she kept glancing all over, admiring the island in a completely new light. Then she felt her belly rumble and declared, I'll be right back. I'm going to get an apple. That's fine. Or you could make something else, suggested Snowflake, seeing Tahra was not yet used to the place and her powers. Immediately she lit up and really wanted something other than apples and blueberries. She only wondered why she didn't think of that herself. Perhaps it was simply too overwhelming, all the new happenings. With no hesitation, she bounded off towards the castle to find something to eat. At the same time, Beth was almost ready to depart. She only had a few more things left to do. Anxiously, she dialed home on the hotel phone and waited as it rang. The answering machine picked up again, which drove her nuts. Calmly, she spoke, Nick, Kate, it's me, Beth. Please pick up. I need to know how it is going. I should be leaving New York shortly and home to help if you haven't found our dear Tahra yet. Oh, wait, you both have already left for, she sighed. It drove her nuts when the machine would cut her off. Clearing it from her mind, Beth picked up her bag. Once she was finished loading the car with her luggage, she decided to go to the publishing company to see how Jennifer was doing and possibly see if there was anything like cleaning up she could help with. After that, she would leave immediately and get herself on her way home. She planned to only take a couple of minutes at the company and glanced at her watch to set a time frame. Beth knew her family needed her help finding Tahra, and she had to know if her daughter had been found. At the school, the class was done with all their presentations, and it was now time for the May Day party. Class, as I set up the next part, you will be in the gym with another class, explained Mrs. Melody. What should I do? Inquired Kate. Today, you are an 8th grader, so you can stick with your class. Besides, I wouldn't want you to come here just for the working part of it. You deserve to have some fun as well. Okay. The young child bounded off after the class with a wide grin. As soon as the last student was out of the room, Mrs. Melody pulled the classroom door shut. She surveyed the room and saw the blinds were open, letting sunlight pour in. Making a mental note to reopen them shortly, she pulled them close. Then she looked to the counters in the room and saw the dishes many students had offered to bring in for the celebration, but the counters were crowded, and the contents could easily pour onto the nearby books. With a wave of her hand, she made tables appear, and then tablecloths delicately fell into place. Another flick of her wrist, and the dishes soared through the air onto the tables. She grinned as the classroom was almost ready for the second festivity. By hand, she pulled the blinds up and smiled satisfied, seeing her set up. As Melody was admiring the classroom, she closed her eyes and pictured her homeland. It was always her greatest joy helping her mother set up for the spring festival. When she was older, she even started planning the festivities and fell in love with it. Each year, she strived to make it the very best she could. She became the heart of the celebration, and her people embraced her as a symbol of spring. With her heart light and a smile always on her face, she breathed life into the world and made things grow just like spring. She smiled at the memories, but it faded when she thought of her last spring festival there. Everything had happened so suddenly, and she was left to choose between her subjects or her beloved Daniel, which of course she chose. Melody opened her eyes and placed her hand on her belly. Softly she spoke, You know, little one, at the last spring festival in my homeland, I was carrying your older sister, Cadence. May Day or the spring festival is probably my favorite celebration, so I'm glad we get to share it together. Back at the Sea of Paper, a warm, sweet smell eased out of the castle windows and was carried on the gentle breeze. A minute later, Tahra appeared holding a pan of brownies. Given it was May Day, and she had planned to bring brownies to school as her dish, she wanted to do that here. She ate one and passed the rest out. They were all happy to have such a special treat, and she loved it even more. Nicole had been wondering why she disappeared for what felt like a long time. It amused Tara seeing the creatures eat human food, but they really liked it. It made her wonder if it had anything to do with her making them, and that they often acted like she would, especially since they all recognized her treat as brownies without questioning it slightly. Furthermore, they all ran over excitedly, as if it had been years they have been went without seeing brownies. Once more, she shook it from her mind, seeing truly how weird this aisle is. Meanwhile, Beth pulled into the parking lot of Fly High Publishing and opened the large glass doors. "Hello, Beth. How can I help you?" sought Jessica as Beth approached the front desk. "Is Jennifer here?" she responded. "No, she normally is, but she hasn't come in yet," responded Jessica, concerned. "I will go see if she is at her house," Beth suggested, proposing a solution. "All right, bye, and thank you." "You're welcome," she grinned and went right back out. Meanwhile, at the elementary, Mrs. Melody walked into the gym. "Class, I have the next part of Mayday set up," she announced. All of her class came running out of the gym excitedly. A mixture of scents filled the classroom. There were 4 fold-up rectangle tables set up, each covered in lots of different foods, most of which the class had brought in. "Help yourselves to whatever you would like. Form a line starting here and enjoy," beamed Mrs. Melody cheerfully. "I have an idea. I think our special guest should go first," suggested Charmaine, loud enough so everyone could hear her. The students' cheerful excitement died out, and everyone was staring at Charmaine. "That's a terrific idea," agreed Mrs. Melody, and much of the class nodded. Back in New York City, Beth arrived at Jennifer's house and gently knocked on the black door. "Hello, Beth," Jennifer greeted, opening the door with a smile. "How comes you aren't at work?" she demanded with a little bit of concern in her voice. "I didn't feel like going today. I have too much to do here." "Like what?" "You know, rewriting Camping Trip. But no matter how hard I try, I just can't get it right, so I decided to stay here today, and I may have forgotten to let them know at the building." On top of that, she was really tired, as she had been up since 4 a.m., trying to rewrite Camping Trip, but she kept messing it up. It was frustrating her, and she didn't feel like doing anything else until she got it word for word right. "They need you more there. Besides, I'm sure you can get every book of yours that got ruined published again," spoke Beth encouragingly. "Maybe, but I doubt it. We are going to need more printers, and it will take a while to clean up the mess." There was a pause of silence before anyone spoke as Jennifer pictured the huge mess from yesterday. Finally, Jennifer spoke. "All right, I will go, but I am going to wear black." Jennifer smiled and finished with a wink. "That's a good idea. I'll come with you and help for a little bit." Jennifer looked at Beth and noticed she was wearing a light blue top and gave her a playful grin. "What?" she questioned. "I think you should wear black, or you will look like a bluebird that has fallen in the mud." Beth paused a moment to picture a bluebird falling in the mud, and they both busted out laughing. "I can be careful," Beth insisted, knowing she hadn't brought any black tops or pants with. "Something tells me you didn't bring black along," Jennifer spoke playfully, reading her expression. "No worries, you can borrow one of my tops. Come with me upstairs, and we'll get you into something." Beth sheepishly followed her publisher to her room. Fortunately, the two of them were not too different in size. Jennifer pulled out a black top and handed it to Beth. She slipped the shirt on over top her blue shirt to make it a quicker change later. Then Jennifer pulled out of a drawer a stained pair of jeans and handed them to Beth. While that was happening, Tara finished handing out the brownies she had made. She put the tray in her castle and then came back out figuring she would wash the tray later. However, she once again forgot it was a magic castle, and the dish washed itself. Back outside, Tara sat down on the golden sand, and the animals began to gather around her. Nicole and Snowflake swam closer to the shoreline. "Tara, most of the animals are here, so why don't you tell us stories from your world?" suggested Nicole, curious to hear Tara's tales. She nodded cheerfully, glad to let her mind wander back to the good memories and to be telling someone about them other than herself.